If someone told me a year ago that the man who fixed my broken sink would end up fixing my heart too, I'd have laughed. Francisco wasn't supposed to stay, just a tenant renting the spare room while he finished his apprenticeship in town. But there was something about the way he smiled at me like he saw through the noise, the way he said my name like it was safe in his mouth. Somewhere between coffee cups and quiet dinners, home stopped being a place and started being him. I just didn't know it until he almost left. It started on one of those evenings where silence felt heavier than words. Francisco was sitting on the couch, half turned toward the rain outside. The lamp threw soft gold across his jawline, tracing the faint stubble there. He looked like warmth itself, tired, steady, and impossibly close. I told myself to focus on the TV, not him, but my heart didn't listen. He turned, caught me staring. His mouth curved, slow and knowing. "You okay?" he asked. His voice was deep, gentle, the kind that could quiet thunder. "Yeah, I lied." Francisco nodded once, eyes soft. He never pressed. That's what made it worse. Back then, our little rented house smelled like coffee and paint. His work boots always by the door, my textbook scattered on the table. He'd fix things I didn't even ask him to. Squeaky doors, flickering lights, the leaky faucet I'd learned to ignore. He said he just liked making things feel right again. I didn't realize he was doing the same to me. One night, after a long day, I came home to find him asleep on the couch, one arm slung over his eyes, chest rising and falling steady. The TV flickered soft light across him, and for a second, he didn't look like my roommate. He looked like everything I didn't know I was missing. I sat on the edge of the couch. I shouldn't have. I told myself I just needed to grab the remote. But when he stirred, blinked at me, and smiled that sleepy smile, it was over. The next morning, everything felt different. He was in the kitchen making eggs, humming under his breath. I stood there, pretending to look for my phone charger. He looked up, eyes meeting mine. "You were up late," he said. I swallowed. "Couldn't sleep?" "Yeah," he said, smile flickering. "Me neither." There was something in the air that morning, the kind of quiet that holds 1,000 unsaid things. Days turned into weeks. The space between us felt both smaller and heavier. He'd brush past me while reaching for a mug, his hand grazing my wrist like an accident. But accidents don't linger that long. One night, during a storm, the power went out. We sat close, lit by a single candle on the counter. The shadows danced across his face, and my heart betrayed me. "You ever miss home?" I asked. He smiled faintly. "Sometimes. But lately, it feels like I already found one." My chest tightened. He didn't look away when he said it. Later that night, I couldn't sleep. I heard him moving around, restless too. The rain had turned to a drizzle. I found him by the window, shirt loose, hair damp. He turned, surprised. "You're up." "Couldn't sleep," I murmured. He chuckled softly. "We're really bad at that." We stood there, quiet except for the sound of rain. Then he stepped closer, just close enough that I could feel the warmth from his body. "Francisco," I whispered. He shook his head gently. "Don't say anything." He didn't touch me. He just stood there, close enough that silence said what words couldn't. I don't know how long we stood like that. Maybe minutes. Maybe forever. Eventually, he sighed. We should get some rest. But when he turned to go, his hand brushed mine, slow, deliberate. He didn't look back. That was the night I realized something had already shifted between us. Quietly, dangerously, beautifully. And maybe home wasn't a place anymore. It was a person, one who had no idea what he'd done to me. The morning after that night felt strange, like the world had exhaled but forgot to breathe back in. Francisco moved around the kitchen like nothing had changed. But it had. Every glance, every word carried weight now. Quiet and careful. I wondered if he felt it too, the shift neither of us dared to name. He poured me coffee, our fingers brushing when he handed the cup over. His eyes flicked up for a second, just long enough to undo me. "Big day today," he said softly. "My apprenticeship ends." "Oh," I said, throat tight. "You're leaving?" He nodded. "Tomorrow morning." It hit harder than I expected, like the room suddenly lost its air. That day we barely spoke. He packed in silence while I sat on the couch pretending to study, my mind miles away. Every zip of his bag sounded like a door closing. Later that evening, he leaned against the doorway, arms crossed, watching me. "You okay?" he asked. I shrugged. "Guess I just got used to you being around." He smiled, faint but real. "You'll be fine." But his voice cracked just enough for me to know. He didn't believe it either. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing the sound of rain again. Like the first night, everything shifted. I walked into the living room, and there he was, sitting by the window again, staring out at the dark. "You couldn't sleep either?" I whispered. He smiled without turning. "You already knew the answer to that." I hesitated, then sat beside him. The space between us was small. Too small. "I don't know how to say goodbye," I said quietly. He exhaled, long and tired. "Then don't." He looked at me, eyes shining in the dim light. The kind of look you never forget. There was a silence that wasn't empty, just full of everything unsaid, everything felt. "You made this place feel like home," I said. He smiled sadly. "Maybe that's why I stayed longer than I should have." He leaned closer then, his breath warm against my skin. "You deserve someone who knows what they want." "And what if that's you?" I asked, barely a whisper. He froze. The room went still. Then, instead of answering, he reached out and tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. His touch was light, careful, almost reverent. He pulled back, eyes searching mine like he was memorizing them. "Don't make this harder." I swallowed. "Then don't make it feel this real." He smiled, that same quiet, aching smile that first broke me. "I wish," he said softly, "you knew how much I want to stay." And then, for the first time, his hand found mine. His thumb brushed inside my wrist, once, twice, before he let go. The next morning, the house fell hollow. His bag was gone. The boots by the door, gone too. Only his mug sat by the sink, the one he always used, chipped on the rim. I sat there for hours, waiting for something I couldn't name. The silence pressed against me. Then a knock. I opened the door, and there he was, Francisco, breathless, rain-soaked, eyes alive in a way I hadn't seen before. "I forgot something," he said. I blinked. "What?" He stepped forward, close enough that I could see the raindrops clinging to his lashes. "You," he whispered. And then he kissed me. Just once. Soft, careful, like a confession. When he pulled back, his forehead rested against mine. "I shouldn't have," he murmured. "I know," I said, voice shaking. "But I'm glad you did." He left after that, for real this time. But he turned at the gate, smiled, and said, "You'll see me again." And I believed him. Weeks passed. The house grew quieter, but somehow lighter too. I started cooking the meals he used to make. I left the window open on rainy nights. And every time I passed that chipped mug, I smiled. Because maybe love wasn't about holding someone close. Maybe it was about learning that you could still feel them, even when they weren't there. And maybe that's what home really was.